What's up, everyone? Jay Holly here, and I just want to give a quick testimony about what God has done in my life. The last video that you have seen me do was on Fallback Friday back at the end of December, and a lot has changed, including my hair. I cut it off, new beginnings, fresh start. So let's talk about what God has done for me. So those of you who was keeping up with Fallback Friday, I was giving some testimonies and some stories and encouragements, but a few of you had heard that in 2018, it was a rough year. Mentally, spiritually, physically, I was going through a lot of stuff, and it was just, I was in a dark place. A lot of people did not know what I was dealing with. They knew I was dealing with some things, but they didn't really realize how intense it was. I have learned over the years that I don't tell everybody my business because sometimes people will use your struggle against you. But I feel in my heart now to tell what I dealt with. Yeah, I was dealing with some things mentally, spiritually, and physically, but people don't realize I was in such a dark place. I was having trouble with my identity. I was having trouble financially. Like, it was just a deep, dark cloud following me everywhere, to the point that I was feeling suicidal. I dealt with a lot of suicidal thoughts. I didn't want to live. A lot of people will say, oh, nothing's that bad that you should end your life, but nobody understands unless they go through it. It's something serious, it's something real. I don't see it as a cop-out. It's not a good thing to do, but it's real. It's a spirit that just attacks your mind and just wants you to give up. The enemy saw me as a threat to the kingdom, so his way was for me to feel like that so I could just end it all and give up my assignment that God has for me. It was hard. It was hard to talk to my family. It was hard to talk to close friends. Like, nobody knew how to help me. And it was a tough situation I was dealing with. Nobody really, outside of my close friends and family, knew I was even dealing with it. They always saw a smile on my face and they thought everything was peachy, but at home it was a whole different story. Like, I've heard the term, like, men cry in the dark. I cried when I got home. Nobody knew. In public, it was smiles. Everything just looked good and peachy, like Jay got his life together. And I mean, I seen a post before on Instagram and it said, check on your happy friends. And I was one of them. That everybody just thought I was happy, I was funny, always enjoying life, but nobody knew what I was really dealing with secretly. I even came to a place where, I mean, I still trusted God, but I was tired of people saying, oh, I'm gonna pray for you. Be encouraged. God's going to fix it. I was tired of hearing it. I just wanted somebody to listen. Listen to my problems, listen to what I was dealing with. Like, I didn't always want somebody to talk. I just want you to listen. I want to be real. Because when you're in this spotlight, especially with my job, in the community and in ministry, people look at you and sometimes it's like you have to put on this mask because you're afraid to really tell them stuff you're dealing with, stuff that you're going through. So I was putting on this mask, like everything was good. It was like, Jay, you're so anointed to sing. You're so anointed to lead praise and worship. You're so anointed to pray. But I was dealing with my own storm. In December, I talked about seasons and I talked about how we have to go through seasons. You have to go through the good season. You have to go through the bad season. That's just a part of life. Do we accept them? Sometimes we don't. The reality is we have to go through those seasons, but we're not always going to accept the seasons that we're in. And although I talked about it and it was trying to be encouragements for others, I wasn't accepting the season I was in. Like, we were talking about fresh starts, new beginnings in 2019, and I carried my baggage from 2018 all the way back into 2019. Like, I really just, it was in church, we were giving a testimony service, and I didn't even want to testify because of how bad that year was. But things have turned around, and I had to go through that season for a reason. Although I didn't want to go through the season, I'm glad that I did because God has really opened up doors for me, and I'm about to talk about it. So about a month ago, God had called me to give a sermon, and I just didn't feel worthy, especially what I was dealing with. I just felt unworthy to get in front of the congregation and give a sermon, especially with all that I was dealing with all of my doubts, with all of my darkness that I was dealing with. And God had put on my heart, the wait is over. I gave the sermon to the church, and the sermon ministered to me, and it was like after that sermon I just felt a release, and I knew the wait was over. I knew that things were about to turn around. I knew that God was about to work things on my behalf, and he did it. One thing I was dealing with was finances. I was dealing with my purpose. Like, I had dreams and visions that I wanted to do in the community, and I didn't understand why others were striving in these things that I desired. But God opened up a lot of doors. I got a promotion at my job to program director. I had to seek the Lord about it and pray before I accepted it, but God told me, this position is for you. This is what I had for you the whole time. And things are still working out in the background, and I just felt like everything I did when I was going through my story, I just felt like everything that I was doing, like, I mean, it's not all about recognition, but I just felt like nobody was recognizing the good that I was doing. Like, I've been a face in this community for years, whether it be me working at the hospital or at my job right now, and I just felt like nobody saw what I was doing, the good that I was trying to do in this community. Even at the church, like, I was just like, God, when is our youth ministry going to strive? And God is turning it around. Like, I got the promotion. I took a few hats off at the church because I just felt overwhelmed and just burnout. And now I can focus on our children's Sunday school, and God has just been giving me so much revelation for our children's Sunday school. Like, we talked in February about understanding prayer and praise. That's one thing that I'm trying to get our youth to understand, because we tell them to do these things, or they're in the services, but they don't really understand. So we got to give them that understanding. Last month we talked about relationships, and it was relationships with God, your family, like all these different areas you have relationships with, and God has just gave me so much revelation to where I can help the kids understand, but it's also ministering to me. So one thing I did say in the video about seasons on Fallback Friday was, when God does it and people see it, make sure you testify of his goodness. So I couldn't help but testify on what God has done. I couldn't pass this up. It's been probably about 3 or 4 weeks, so I'm a little late, but I'm still going to testify about what God has done in my life. And I'm looking forward to everything else he has for me, whether it be more financial stuff coming in, whether it be my youth ministry just sailing off and launching. God has what he wants for us. And one thing that we talked about in our children's Sunday school, we were playing Pictionary, and they was asking, what does this really have to do with the Sunday school? And I was saying, in Pictionary, we tend to draw stuff, and that's God drawing the picture for our lives. He knows exactly how he wants it. He knows what it is. And other than guessing it, like on Pictionary, it's not our job to guess what God's doing. It's not our job to guess. God knows what he wants for us. He knows what he has for us. And how he does it isn't any of our business. We just have to accept what God has for us. He knows the plans he has for us, and that's the verse I taught the kids. I know the plans I have for you, saith the Lord. He knows the plans. It's not for us to try to draw our own picture. We're just going to freely let him draw and trust him. And I'm glad that I did. Yes, I went through my dark phase, but one thing I can say, I never gave up. And I'm encouraging whoever's watching this today, don't give up. It will work out in the long run. God knows what he's doing. We have to go through storms at times, And at the end of the storm, there's always a rainbow. There's always sunshine. So keep fighting through the storms. Keep fighting through your situation, and don't give up. Keep fighting until you see that sunshine. There's always light at the end of the tunnel. So, guys, I thank God. Like, I can't even thank him enough. And I know that I'm gonna have more tests and trials, and I may not like them. You may not like them, but there's always light at the end of the tunnel. So just keep trusting him. Keep on believing in him. Don't give up. Keep fighting. Don't throw in the towel. Just keep playing the game. You may not like the cards that are dealt your way. Like, we played Uno in Children's Sunday School, and I was talking about sometimes there's cards dealt to us, but we can't help the cards that are dealt to us. There's going to be some wild cards, but the one thing we can't do, we can't skip and try to ignore our situations. We can't reverse it. All we can do is just keep playing until we win. So keep playing until you win. I hope this encourages somebody. It just was me telling a testimony. But I really hope it does encourage somebody to keep on pressing, keep on fighting. I know there's somebody out there that's dealing with something right now. Just keep on fighting, keep on pressing, keep trusting God. It'll be worth your while. So, everybody have a blessed day. I love you guys. Good night.